Alright guys, so I'm going to give you a brief breakdown here of Unreal 4. I think this is 4.4. One of the newer ones. I know there's a bunch of tutorials out there. Some of them are incomplete, some of them are disorganized. I'm going to be as brief as I can and be as precise as I can. I'll try to cover everything as much as I can for this small area. I just want to make this about 8 minutes, so I don't want to make it too long. You'll notice when you first launch it in Unreal 4, you'll notice you have a nice little interface here that gives you a rundown of what every piece does. This is pretty freaking brilliant, and this can help you and add to what I'm going to cover in just a moment. Alright, so I'm going to close that out. So we have here our usual scene here. Now navigation, if you've never used Unreal Tools before, navigation can be used by the left mouse to move in and out, right mouse to look around, and right and left to control your elevation and dolly you from side to side as well as up and down. At any time, if you want to, you can go in play your game. This one has a camera built in, and we can walk around. You probably can't hear my audio. We're going to use the forward arrows here. I'm the smallest man in the world. We're kind of in God mode here, so if you pass through something or look like you elevate or climbed over something, it's because you are literally just kind of pushing forward. The game mode is a little bit not, shall I say, tapered down. It's basically do whatever you want. You can glide into things, but you are a free-floating thingy, I guess you could say. So let's go ahead and hit escape on that. And you hit escape at any time, you can jump out of your plane mode. Now these are just things that are set up in the scene. You can also open blueprints if you want to. And opening up blueprint, what this is, if you look at the difference between blueprint and a regular Unreal format, blueprint allows you to actually have things based on a node system, which is pretty nice. I didn't have that before. Everything was just mainly code, and they had a few things that were pointing to it. And you did see previews before this even came out that this little juicy tidbit's going to be for developers, and it's pretty cool. And if you open it up, you can see a little breakdown, talks about blueprint, because in itself it's its own beast. You can click on some of these that are already established. Now some of these that they have already have code in them, literally just set up for code, and you won't necessarily see them come up. But I'm gonna make a video about this later on and talk about blueprint and how to use it and how some of the cool stuff you can do. So we notice we don't really have any events or anything, and nothing major is set up in play right now. We can look at some of the props in here. We don't really have those, but I don't want to get go too fast in front of myself here. We're going to go back to our regular topic here. So maybe I'll close this out. Again, really nice tutorials built into the system. So let's talk about what we have to work here. You'll notice we have objects in the scene. Any object that you click on will give you the exact information on this object. It's really nice. Tells you even what the light maps are set to. And for those that are using Unreal 4, this is where you can set your information for your lighting, your resolution, if you will. You can override your light map if you want to. This allows you to go in there now and change it. Otherwise, it's going to stay default. This is really smart to do this, so that way nobody else messes up your stuff, and that way you don't accidentally, mix things up or mess things up. It can be late at night. Sometimes working. Excuse me. That was my dinner kind of affecting me there as I talk. Now, anytime you want to change your movement of an object as you select it, there's a nice little yellow encapsulated outside of the object here, which shows you which object you have set. And you can hit the space bar. This allows you to change your widget. This allows you to give you the rotation, the translation scale. You can go through it, and you'll see these icons up here at the top. Now, it used to look a lot like 3D Studio Max, but now I've made it almost looks like the love child of Maya and 3D Studio Max now. And it has a little bit cleaner interface like Maya. Sorry, Max users. Max, I've used it for 8 years, actually more than that, almost 20. And it's never really had a super clean interface, and still to this day it looks like it's been designed by engineers. But it's very different if you look at it now. This is pretty clean. This is pretty efficient. So let's talk about some of the things we have to mess with here. There's a here, if you look at each one of these, this allows you to change your mode of editing. This is the placement mode. Now, with the placement mode, this allows you to grab objects if you need to. So if you go into your content browser, and let me open this up a little bit, you can grab different things. Maybe you got an audio cue, some architecture you want to get to. You You can double click on that guy. You can go to these objects here, and I can just drag that into the scene. And if I want, I can just build a wall. Now it has snap built in right now. If you want to change any of your snap controls, this is up here. It shows your degrees, shows you on the grid, and so forth, which is pretty convenient. And again, even camera speed. So if you notice your mouse is moving really slow, you can speed this up by going in here and changing this through the slide bar. Pretty nice stuff. Pretty cool. So again, you can go into audio again, blueprints, or just go overall in the general game, which is where we started at. And if you need to find something, this gives you a nice search bar to be able to look through and grab it. You have your simple shapes here, which allow you to start out things using your BSP. Let me actually get rid of this guy because we don't really need him, so I'm going to delete him out of there. And it's really nice to be able to do that. And it does take some time sometimes for your light to update as you move your camera around. So you have your primitive shapes here that you can build and create in the scene. You can add or subtract. Now add means you could, it's always the better way to build things because things are built like Legos in Unreal. And then we have subtract if you want to actually gut a particular building or volume of things. We're not going to get into that right now. We will get into that later when I try to show you how to do a basic level breakdown. We have lights, we have visual here, which gives you post-processing effects, as well as atmosphere, fog, pretty cool stuff here. Basic here takes us back into the camera area, as well as player start, box trigger, and all these things you also can link into your blueprints if you need to. So we got volumes here, and volumes are great. There's kill zone volumes. And if you're familiar with UDK, a lot of these things will be familiar. There's a blocking volume, which allows you to not go through, and I love the hand here, not go through a wall, go through a floor if you need something on a particular object. A distinct object, whether it's something you brought in, you need a generic blocking volume, or just something that you built in UDK and you want to be able to edit that. This allows you to pull them in here in this package here. All right. So anytime you want to actually expand these, you can. There's even all classes, which gives you everything all together. So if you're missing anything, you can go and look for it into the viewer here. Pretty nice. Also, we have paint. This allows you to paint your vertex paint if you need to. They also have terrain. They also have plant mode to be able to paint your foliage, which I'll try to make a video of that later on. And then they also have being able to edit your meshes as you go. So let's go back into placement. Let's go and look over here at Content Browser. This is one of the most important things you could possibly. I cannot stress this enough. This guy is really amazing. And he's going to hold all your stuff. He really is. Now, he isn't the most important, but he's one of the major ones. You can bring on your audio in here, and you can organize all your files. And you can keep them in your file folders. Can't talk tonight. And you'll be able to look them up, give them to drag them in, test them out. Don't like them, hit delete. But this allows you to be able to actually control your game. And if you click on this little arrow here, it'll show you all the things that you have in your inventory, your materials, your maps, your blueprints. Really nice. Even your textures can be sorted. Over here we have a toggle lock, so if you need to lock your level, you don't want someone to mess with it, maybe you're working with a team, that actually works out pretty well. So you're like, hey, nobody's messed with this level, I got this set the way I want it. That's actually pretty nice. Alright, so we have particles here, you can open up, all these different things are really great. Content browser, really nice. You'll see down here we have collection, so if you want to add a collection, maybe something that you've had, you want to share a collection, a private collection, or a local collection. So if you have a group of items that you want to share with somebody, you can. Again, this is nice, efficient in the pipeline. You'll notice also we have a new XYZ coordinates, which is built into the viewer here, which is really nice and simulates a 3D program at its best. We have viewport options. This allows you to actually customize things the way that you want. Right now it's in tiles, which I like. You can do lists, you can do columns, you can show only assets in selected folders. Really nice to be able to mess with this, and you can also scale up your thumbs if you need to. Maya also has that selection as well as 3D Studio Max. We can save it. We can go to our content here. Opens a content browser on an individual scale. You see it's already open, so if you have it closed, it'll open it up in its default size or scale, I should say. The marketplace, if you need to download stuff. Quick settings, so if you just need to get to something really quick. This actually gives you the same thing. There's even a volume control. Really nice, really clean, much better than it used to. World settings are really great to mess with this guy. So this allows you to turn on and off your physics, what kind of game mode you're looking for, damage, light mask, turn it on or off. This is actually really nice to play with. Again, we got blueprints we talked about, matinee, which we'll get into later, and building your items. So if you need to build items in here, pretty nice. And simulate, basically it's the equivalent of like play. If you look at it, start, simulate the game. Over here it says just play the game. So these are quite similar in their launching here. Now launch, this here, speaking of launch, this is if you want to play it in as if it's exactly the way you intend it to be exported out. All right, let's go over here to the scene outliner. This is pretty powerful and quite new when it comes to Unreal. This allows us to drag and middle mouse drag objects into each other too. So if I want to parent things, I can. So say I want the table and I want him to be parented underneath the statue. I can move him right underneath there and you can put them right on top of each other. Now mine's didn't quite take. Let me try that again. Attach the table. There he goes. Attach the table to statue. It'll tell you what's going on. It'll, you know, if you have it parented, you can have it parented. And you can have a little icon with these too. So if I go and grab this guy and I move him up to statue, and you'll notice a little icon shows up for an arrow, and you'll notice these guys are now underneath each other. And cool, pretty nice. And from here you can actually go and mess with his details if you want to, and every object has its details. So if I click on it, we can go in here and bring up all the properties, secondary properties for that object. And this includes, you know, whether you want it to be dynamic, whether you want, again, we looked at the light maps earlier, all sorts of cool stuff you can mess with. These are the world settings, but we can switch down to details, and this is where I was earlier. This allows you to control the scale. If you want something bigger and smaller, you can do it here, or just go up here to the literal scale control. Alright, scrolling through, and I think that's about it, all I'm going to show you right now. But this gives you a really good breakdown of all the cool possibilities with this guy and allows you to actually do some quick editing. This is an amazing tool, and I'm so glad they brought this to the surface. Don't get me wrong, I like UDK, but this actually is a true developer tool, and the fact that it's clean, neat, and gets straight to the point. That's about it.